leaders of political parties initially, and then later on policy experts to come and talk about the forthcoming general elections. And as we celebrate our 30 years of democracy in this country, as you know, the elections are coming on the 29th of May. But we would like to remind all of us that, in fact, we are not the only country that will be holding elections. At least 50 other countries will be holding general elections around the globe. So this makes 2024 a very special year as far as citizen participation in electing future leaders is concerned. So we're really pleased to have this program. And this program consists essentially of various dialogues being organized. Initially, on Friday, we had the chairperson of the IEC coming to talk about the IEC's preparedness for the forthcoming general elections, and identified some of the challenges that they were facing and wanted the IEC to tell the country how prepared they were and how they were dealing with the challenges facing them as the IEC. Today, which is the next step of the elections program, we're getting leaders of political parties to actually have a conversation with us and also the country to tell us about their own perspectives. So this is not a speech delivery session, but more a dialogue with the leaders of the various parties. The format of the session is that we have moderators who will be asking the initial set of questions. And these questions are aimed at informing our citizens out there about the ideas, the views, and the policies of the various political parties that will be taking place in these elections. So today, the focus was on the ANC. The session was meant to be this at 12 o'clock, but unfortunately the president couldn't make it. The session just finished now was involving the DA having a conversation with us. We now are very pleased and honored to have the CIC present here to talk to us about the EFF's views and policies. The next set of dialogues will focus on the other, I almost said smaller political parties, but we will have the other political parties that are represented in Parliament in one dialogue, and then we'll then have another dialogue with political parties, the newly formed political parties that are not yet in government. And the idea is that our voters, our citizens, need to know what's in the minds of the people who are hoping to be elected and become leaders of our country. We'll then have another dialogue looking at elections in the continent, and then another dialogue looking at gender and women issues as far as the forthcoming general elections are concerned. So it is my pleasure and honor to actually formally and officially welcome you, CIC, to the WITS School of Governance. Our staff members, our academics, and the university community is really looking forward to hear your thoughts about what are the challenges facing the nation. The conversation will be facilitated by Professor Adebayo, who is a distinguished professor in the WITS School of Governance. So he will begin with the first set of questions. We'll then open the floor for everybody sitting here, be it a journalist or even an academic, a student, want to ask the CIC any questions. We'll then take the conversation as it flows. Without any waste of time, I'm going to formally hand over to Prof. Adebayo to lead the conversation with the CSC. Prof, over to you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Prof. Maseko. Let me also join in welcoming the president of the EFF.
Thank you.
I'm going to be the CNC for this afternoon.
Okay.
For those of you who saw the announcement, you may have seen that it was Professor Aaron Rensberg who was to moderate this session, former Vice Chancellor at the University of Johannesburg. So I am not Aaron Rensberg. Aaron took ill last night, unfortunately, and had to drop out at the last minute. So he sends his greetings and apologies to you, President. And perhaps the appropriate starting point, you came in from, you were saying Bloemfontein?
Yes.
Just now to join us, and we are very honored by that. How is it going?
Well, let me greet firstly everyone who's here, the academics, the management, and the workers in general, and all the progressive forces of the left, and Bratemba. They say it's Prof. We grew up calling him Bratemba. We are almost fatigued now. But, you know, with the elections is that you start the way you start and then you get some fatigue. Then adrenaline kicks in again, like nothing happened when the election now reaches its peak. So what I do every Tuesday, I'm in Limpopo, Wednesday, I'm in Gauteng, and then Thursday, I'm in Free State, to meet with lower structures of the EFF that then give a report of how many voters have they spoken to. Because the first objective is that you must speak to all the voters, whether they are voting for you or not, because no one will vote for something they don't know. So when you go directly to them, then they know there's an animal called the EFF. Because we are fighting against an organization that survives through brand. It has got no face. It has got no clear program of how they are going to take us out of this crisis. But the brand is what helps them. So in the rural areas, they confuse the concept politics or ANC for being a synonym for politics. So when you say anything politics, they hear you saying ANC. So that's why even when they protest, they ban the IEC tents because IEC is politics and politics is ANC. So we need to go into the villages and then, till the ground and then convince our people that there is an alternative to what they think it is the only option.
Okay. There's a lot which is said about the urban-rural divide that seems to be emerging in this process, maybe more sharply now than in previous elections. And are you suggesting in that case that part of your concentration is on that rural electorate? And what kinds of political education are you undertaking?
Well, we have managed to push them into the rural area. So they are no longer enjoying support in the urban area. And therefore, because they are in the rural area, we have to go there. Because we cannot leave the ground only leaning towards the ANC. So we have to go and contest them in their own ground. If you listen to the recordings of the NEC of the ANC, the election person of the ANC says, we need to get 80% in Limpopo, 80% in Mpumalanga, 80% in Eastern Cape. That is a rural vote. So if it comes 80% and it finds some percentages in the urban, they are still going to be at 57%. So their prayer is we want to stay at 11 and or we must increase because any decline will suggest drastic changes. Because if you're a face of the campaign and a leader of a political party, a candidate for president, they don't make any inroads with your face, your name, and all of that, then the debate starts. Shouldn't we try someone else? So we consolidate the base where we operate, and then we break new ground. So we are going into the rural area because the ANC, even if it wins, the first number must be 5, not 6. So it might, even if it's 59%, it's okay, but 5 must be the first one. Then you know that if they don't get beyond 60 in the rural, they don't stand a chance of getting 50 in the national.
I'm struggling a bit and my struggle is this. You are also an urban group of activists and politicians. What's your connection to the rural that is different from the other parties that are largely also urban-based and not necessarily living the everyday experiences of the rural population?
Our members come from the rural. So we are a Pan-Africanist movement which resonates with any African anywhere, especially the dejected masses of our people. So, and that's why we're interested in the rural, because there's no any form of delivery that goes in there. Yet people are keeping on voting the same way. It can be on the basis of social grants. The urban people get social grants too, but they never use that as a determining factor of who they should vote for. We appreciate the fact that in the rural areas, we have to build strong EFF branches that are politically educated and that will educate the rural community, because, you know, in the rural areas, you find that there is one school and then there is one principal, and that principal was made a principal by SADU, and then SADU is ANC. This guy in the village is the only one with a car or a buggy. So if you argue with him from the village, you were either born inside his van or he's the one who took your mother to the clinic when your mother was giving birth. So he's then feared by everyone there. So you need to go and build an alternative crop of cadreship, as it were, at that level, so that they will appreciate his contribution in their lives, but politically still have a right to disagree. So we're rural. I mean, I'm township. Floyd Shibambo comes from a village called Mahonis. There's no toilet. There are no roads. The first time he saw a computer in his life was when he was at WITS. And then I don't know. Yeah, but I will be safe to say the first time he saw a white person in a close proximity as well was at WITS. And he says when the person was teaching, he can't hear what that person is saying, and everybody's writing. So the white person just goes, oh, is that? Everything else doesn't make sense. And they say, no, go and do this assignment. Then they go to the computer lab. Everybody is typing there. He can't switch it off. He even goes under the table to check where is the switch. That's how rural he is. And there's no way, and there's no any amount of education and development in your life that will ever break your roots. I mean, the CEO of Standard Bank, Lungisa, you can see he's successful, wealthy man, but every little opportunity he gets, he goes to the rural, because that's him.
Okay, so, I mean, we are getting an insight into what it has taken to build the EFF into, at least on the basis of the current parliament, into the third most important political party. Where do you see yourself headed after the 29th of May? And I ask this question because you seem to concede that if the ANC moves from 6 to 5, that will be victory for you.
Yes, the ANC is not just an insignificant small organization. It's a big elephant. And you have to eat it piece by piece until you collapse it. And we have successfully done that. In 2016, when we took our votes, gave to the DA so that we can move the purse away from the ANC and paralyze it. Many of you were not understanding what we're doing. We were saying you're selling out, you're giving whites votes. But this stock can't be trusted with the purse. So we had to move the purse and then go to the same level field, playing field with the ANC. No one has got access to resources. So that time, they lost Tshwane, lost Joburg, and many others. But in Gauteng, they then won Ekurhuleni in 2016. Then we took Joburg and Tshwane from them, put them in a very difficult situation. When we went to 2019, they were rescued by Ekurhuleni because they were still governing in Ekurhuleni. That's how they got 50%. Then we went beyond 2019 to 2021. They lost Tshwane, Joburg, Ekurhuleni, and Mogale City. So these are the biggest cities of Gauteng. They are governing now with 50%. You can't tell me of anything that was so drastic which would have changed the mindset of our people in Gauteng to vote for the ANC. They know Nancy Spani, it's a fake thing. It's used for electioneering. They know, they can see Panyaza for who he is. So the ANC is gone in Gauteng, if you want to be scientific about it. The same as KZN. And it doesn't matter what you do in KZN. Actually, they are in a deep hole and they keep on digging. They go grab a mic when a prime minister is speaking. We don't agree with that prime minister ourselves. He's an IFP member who does IFP things, but the king appointed him for that role. We shall respect him. Grab a mic, as if that is not enough. They go now cut the salaries of the staff members of the kingdom and close out. So then, and I would have asked the question if I was in their party as to how does this act help us to gain votes? Because we're in an election, we're grabbing mics, grabbing salaries of an old man who has served King Zwelithini. And he's not just a praise singer. That is a walking library of the history of the Zulu nation. So as he does the praise singing, he narrates the history of how, the lineage of how that nation came about. And you see him as an ordinary person who can just violate in front of the people. So Mtolo or Duma are not doing anything to help the ANC because therefore, that is our second biggest voting population. The ANC is not getting anything there. And then you take the Western Cape. Whether you bring Ibrahim Rasool, they announced they're going to announce the premier candidate. 2 minutes, they ran away. They're no longer announcing premier candidate of the Western Cape. It is not going to help them. And neither is the DA going to be helped in the Western Cape.
Okay.
So through that, then you're bringing them down, if not out. So we are alive to the reality that we are faced with a serious task ahead of us, and it's not going to be an easy thing. So we make calculations. That's why we're not fanatics in our approach.
I mean, this audience will probably be justified to be a bit worried, listening to what you just said. So we understand that part of your strategy is gradual erosion of the base of an historic party to prepare the ground for you to provide a meaningful alternative to the people. And people would look at Tshwane and the coalition you entered into, and many will say that it wasn't working. How many mayors did we have? How many evidences of instability in the municipal governance system have we seen? And is there a danger in your strategy, logical as it is from your point of view, that we might end up in a situation of serious national instability?
I don't know which coalition, Prof, you are speaking about in Tshwane, because we have never been in a coalition in Tshwane. We supported the DA in 2016 under Solum Simang, and then in 2021, the coalition, the Moonshot coalition, they call it that now, won the Tshwane municipality. And it has always been them. We're not part of that. We were in Ekurhuleni, where we agreed with the ANC. They said they want to be mayors of Joburg and Ekurhuleni, and then they will give us seats. We said, no, we are taking Ekurhuleni, you're taking Joburg. So that whatever ANC does, it will never correct itself. But we were looking for opportunity where the EFF will demonstrate in a practical terms how it governs, what kind of leadership do we have in the EFF, but equally to accumulate the necessary experience for governance. And they refused, and we said, okay, let's go and choose mayors from small parties. So you choose which one you want. Ekurhuleni, it's yours. You choose who you want, because we can't vote for you. Yeah. Then you choose in Joburg who you want. We concentrate on that. That's what we did. Then we went on with that. The ANC went to complain that these guys are outshining us. And they said, if you allow this coalition to go on, there will not be anything left of the ANC in Ekurhuleni. I mean, we were working in such a way that when you report any matter of service delivery, in less than 24 hours, we're resolving it. I remember the ward council of the ANC blocking the EFF MMC who went to unblock the sewer. She said, I love this sewer alone, leave it alone. Why? Because she had to choose loving sewer or hating the EFF. That's how much you cannot give us. And that's what we're looking for. You can't give us an opportunity, and South Africans don't get to appreciate that we are what they've been waiting for.
So if it came to it, elections on the 29th, we get a situation in which there is not a single party that has even the 5. And I've watched some of your interviews. This question has been posed to you. What will be your approach to ensure that whilst pursuing your agenda for change in the governance of the country, you also ensure national stability?
Firstly, there must be a guarantee there won't be a national instability, because the EFF, if it fails, it has to become an official opposition. So the ruling party, they always lean towards the official opposition. Because they compete them with this kind of policy, they also want to outshine the opposition with the opposition's policy. So if the opposition is right, the ruling party lean to the right. So if the opposition is left, the ruling party will lean to the left. So even if we don't win elections, but we are the official opposition party, you can be guaranteed that the ruling party will be forced by the dynamics to always come to us. So we want a situation where ourselves and the ANC combined, we get more than 50% of the votes. Then we've got a strong bargaining power. We don't want a situation where the ANC, if it goes to pick up smaller parties, it then gets 50%. Because it's going to procure those people of former prisoners and this and that to come into coalition with them. So you need the EFF with a decisive majority, so much that if the ANC says, I can do without the EFF, they go to smaller parties, they don't succeed. The same with the DA. When it goes to the smaller parties, it must not succeed. It must be like have an option between EFF and the ANC, and it must choose. It is already pronounced it can't work with the EFF. We don't care who we work with. We can work with the devil, because both are devils anyway. We have to choose a better devil. So we don't want anything Just give us an opportunity. Imagine if I was a minister of sports in Ramaphosa's cabinet now. Everybody else would be thinking I'm a president. Because there's nothing Ramaphosa can do to outshine me. Nothing. The people who will be complaining about a tar road, about water, about electricity. In the process, they will be saying, Malema must come here, protesting, blocking roads. A minister of sports must come here. Because how do you become a president and people are dying of cholera in Hammanskraal? You take a PR stunt to Hammanskraal where people die. The Rooival water reticulation plant has been financed, is still not operating, no contractor on site. You go look at it, you go talk to the people, you leave. It's now more than 8 months or so. Nothing has changed, if not worsened, in Hammanskraal. What kind of a president is that? And Hammanskraal is in Pretoria, next to his office. If it was me, I will establish the site office at Hammanskraal. That twice a week, before Cabinet Wednesday, I'll report here to check progress. And if there is no progress, heads will roll. I owe nobody anything. I was not an apartheid spy. No one is blackmailing me with anything. My relationship with you, you do the work, you keep your job. You don't do the work, you leave.
There's a sense, and I hear you, there's a sense in which it might be felt your flexible alliance approach, being open to all angels and devils at the same time.
We're the only angel.
might actually sound a little opportunistic. And let me explain what I mean. So at one point in time, you are the flag bearer of an anti-corruption campaign nationally. And you fought a former president to the standstill. Played an important role even in his departure from office. Few months down the line, you seem to be a darling of the same former president. And some are not even ruling out the possibility of a strategic alliance between you and the party which is now represented by the former president. And I just cite this as one example of what sometimes might confuse both your followers but also general observers. That the EFF, in a sense, your trademark is protest, which you do well, disruption, and I've been in 2 or 3 zonas where you've been very actively disrupting, and at the end of the day, it's an opportunist game. The EFF is not ready for government.
The EFF is more than ready for government. We've been government in Ekurhuleni, running billions of budget. No single cent went missing till now. Ferial would have written big articles about it. If she gets 1 cent missing, she will go. She's waiting for that opportunity. She never writes anything good about the EFF. Wait for that day. It's as if she doesn't know we're in Ekurhuleni. The day we make a mistake, she's coming. Now, you might think that our strategy is not working. Our strategy is working. Let's look at the 2016 strategy when we gave it to the DA. We gave it to the DA in Johannesburg, and we knew they will never pass budget without us. And we said, we're not taking anything. Take all the positions. What is opportunistic about that? Then when the budget came, we said to Mashaba, include in the budget insourcing of workers, security guards and cleaners. And he refused. We said, the budget won't pass. We won't vote for it. And then it went first time budget. We didn't vote. He didn't get the necessary quorum. It failed. He had to come back to negotiate with us. We said, put the workers, insourcing of the workers in the budget will pass. He put the insourcing of the workers in the budget, and the budget passed. Now, today he wants to be intellectual about us and think he's smarter than us, says he insourced the workers. Again, Ferriel doesn't ask him the question, show me that policy of the DA in 2016, which you are implementing. You are purely implementing the EFF policy because DA has never had, even now, a policy to insource workers. Action SA has got no policy to insource workers because in Tswane, we put a motion for the insourcing of workers. The Action SA voted against it because it's not Mashaba's policy. He was implementing our policy. So is it about us or is it about what we want to achieve? It's necessarily about what we want to achieve. And we achieved that without occupying any executive positions. But Atemba will tell you, they were teaching us as we were growing up, when there was still real organization, strategy and tactics. It's not so much the tactics you use. It is about will you ever arrive at your strategic objective? We're going to kiss a lot of frogs on the way to obtaining the strategic objective of the EFF, and that is not opportunism. So, President Zuma, it's a PR exercise, I think he's doing these things for what they are. Like, he will never accept to be a member of parliament. And I don't need him to say that. You ought to know on your own that once President Zuma signs oath of office, not oath of office, that thing that they say, help me God, once he takes an oath as a member of parliament, he has accepted a junior position. Therefore, he loses the benefits of a former president. Not after spending a day. Once he says, help me, God, he'll be asking God to help him for those cars to go away outside. The whole motor gate, once he does that, the whole motor gates leave. So, who will want to do that? I don't think. And now, they're really playing into his hands, and he's got them. So, you saying I'm being friends with President Zuma? No, I have nothing to do with him. They are fighting each other there. It works for me. Let me go this way.
Okay. It's an interesting perspective on strategy and tactics. I didn't know you are also a Leninist. But let's prepare the audience. I'll take a few questions. But before I do that, whilst you get ready and the microphone is being prepared, let me pose a question around something which I found curious in your manifesto, which is the future of provincial governments.
Yes.
And your emphasis on revamping the local government system. What's the logic behind that?
And Bratemba will also know that the ANC's original policy never had provinces in it. We've always strived for the establishment of a unitary state and do away with the homelands. When they were negotiating in CODESA and the IFP was refusing to participate, with clear demand that KwaZulu-Natal must be demarcated as a province. The provinces came as a compromise. So now they want to operate as if provinces have always been their strategic objective. They forget it was a tactic to get the IFP into elections, then have a peaceful South Africa, show black and white how we're going to govern and all of that. Once they come down, we go back to our original position. I want you, School of Governance, to tell me, because I'm still struggling with that. What is the role of the Premier? What does he do? What is the role of the MEC of education? Because the syllabus is national. The question paper is national. The subject itself is national. There is no Tsonga of Gauteng and Tsonga of Guyana. There is one paper of Tsonga, and that is written centrally. So what is this person doing? He's an inspector. If he's inspecting schools on behalf of national government, let it be clear. Premier is the most useless position compared to a councillor. A councillor can unblock a blocked sewer. A premier can't do that. When your sewer is blocked, call a premier. You're going to hear English. In terms of systems and spheres of governance and hierarchy, we are not allowed, but as it were, I will call the mayor so that we find a way and address this thing holistically. That's it. The toilet remains blocked. You call a councillor, which street are you? Okay, come. I'm coming. He goes stand next to the sewer, call the municipal workers, come in and block the sewer. None of those people in the province can do that. So the ANC then gets provinces. Then it realizes, no man, we can dispense a lot of patronage. We thought we were only going to be at this. So we can also put our people here and have as many cadres as possible eating. And it worked for them. That's why they don't want to move away from it. We remove the premier. We remove the MEC. We remove the legislature. What is the role of the legislature? Because the law is one. The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa is the law. Every other thing must be in compliance with the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, which can be done centrally in Parliament of the Republic of South Africa. In Limpopo, when they go to legislature, they announce it everywhere. Facebook, members of legislature. It's like a 21st birthday party. Why? They never go to legislature. They go once in a while. But salary doesn't come once in a while. Benefits don't come once in a while. All of them have got parliamentary villages and all of that. Why? For what? So we can save a lot of money by removing the provincial government and have a super metro called Gauteng with a mayor, and it doesn't matter thousands councillors, as long as they've got a specific constituency that they are responsible for and they are going to service. That's all we need. Local government, as it is now, receive the lowest chunk of the national budget. And then provincial government gets this big chunk and national government. Provincial government to do what? Who said municipalities can't run schools? Today, because of this hierarchy thing and all of that, there are certain things that municipalities can't do in schools unless the MEC approves. So why so much red tape and protocols? So we believe that we need to have one South Africa, one constitution, one currency, one parliament. And everybody else must be to the service of people, not these ceremonial positions that are costly to us.
I hear you. Cost of government is a big issue across our continent. It's an issue which resonates in different ways. But you did say that the current arrangement and the federal principle underpinning it is the product of a historic compromise. If you are going to get rid of that compromise by abolishing that middle level of the provinces, in a context in which, as you yourself have heard in your various visits from Soweto to the rural areas, of people complaining also about the quality of local government, about issues of corruption, about absentee councillors and the like. And your ears have been full of those complaints. You've made pledges, you've made promises. So we are dealing actually with a more generalized crisis of governance, which it doesn't seem evidence that simply removing one level of the administrative political structure will necessarily resolve.
No, it's not true. You have misplaced the skill. Where you need the skill the most, that's where the rejected are operating. There in the council, they deploy the sloganeer, a person who can sing the loudest. But as you go up the province and go up national, you come across a creme de la creme. Let's take Panyaza, for instance. If you were to take Panyaza with the kind of energy he has, and you give him implementing powers, that's a skill misplaced. So the local government is not inherently a problem. The problem is the kind of skill you deploy at that level, because it's by the way. There is this elitist arrangement where I must belong. I can't be a councillor. Actually, being called a councillor is like you are being demoted. Once that sphere leaves and there's this sphere, they all have no option. National is already occupied. You're going to have to find yourself in the local government space and be an implementing agent of our government. So these provinces actually are a cause of a problem now. Those people of the Western Cape, when they say they want Western Cape away from South Africa, it's exactly that. They looked at the province and said, no, that's us. We're here. We're not with these people. Now you're thinking, okay, here we're dealing with racists who are trying to achieve something. Some tribalist person in Zulu, in KwaZulu-Natal says, KwaZulu-Natal must be a province. It must be a country on its own. Where does that come from? From these mini states that were created. So people think like, if we can have a premier, we can have a president. So we can do our own thing. People must know there's no land of the Zulus, there's no land of the Xhosas, there's no land of the Pedis. This land belongs to South Africans, and they can settle anywhere they want. We should have dismantled this regionalism. That would have led to the dismantling of tribalism.
Okay, thank you very much. Come to the audience, and Bratemba, you've been cited so many times. Yeah, I will go around. Please start with Bratemba, and then I'll walk backwards.
CIC, thank you for your presentation. I just wanted to share with the audience your policy-making processes within the EFS, because there's often a perception that, there are the problem in this country is not the absence of policies, but it's implementation of new policies that the various parties are advocating. So can you just educate us about how do you formulate policies within your party so that by the time, if you get elected, you'll have policies that will address the needs and challenges facing the nation? Thank you.
May I ask you to warehouse that? And I take two more.
Then I have to get this facility.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much. Let me humble myself before the attendees of this convention. I have a question that I would like to ask based on the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Now, in Section 217, if I'm not mistaken, it talks about when the state contracts for goods and services, it must do those things fairly and equitable. But we are the most unequal society. Now, the preamble of the same constitution then says we must heal the divisions of the past. And in the fraternity that which I belong to, the top 5 of the law firms in South Africa, okay, they were incorporated even before 1994. Now, to be competitive to that space to a young person like me, it's a bit of a problem even if I were to incorporate tomorrow, because I will be having to be on the panel. You must have 20 years experience and all of those things. Now, in the NYDA, we did even, I think when I was doing my law degree, we when we were with the IT guys, we came up with the system even before COVID, a paperless healthcare system. We went to present it, but now bureaucracy is a bit of a problem also in the state. So on the 30th, let us envisage President Malema there on the 30th of May. I'm quoting you. You say when you meet the president, something must give in. On the 30th, how do the young people with ideas who are not coming from, a political connections and all manner of things, how do they then contribute to the state and its development? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. An important question.
Thank you.
Actually, President, I was going to loop that question, and it's good that he has raised it, with regard to your strategy for building a constituency among young professionals, which is becoming an increasingly significant category in the country. Let me take one more. Is there a lady? Do we have a lady? Have a seat. Have a seat.
Thank you very much. I just want to ask a simple question. Yeah, I love you, Mr. Julius Malema. My name is Floyd. Yeah, I hear that you say if ANC is losing, you will take your vote and give it to ANC and you will put Floyd as a Minister of Finance. Is it true or false? Thank you.
Tell them to introduce themselves.
Okay, thank you very much. I think those are substantive questions, and as many people as want to contribute will be given the opportunity to do so.
Yes.
So please don't get agitated.
Yeah.
We've taken 3 questions. We'll come back to the president and get his response, and then we'll open up for another round.
Thank you very much. When the EFF was formed in 2013, we went around consulting our people on the options that we had, whether we should form an economic emancipation, non-governmental organization which will agitate for economic freedom, or we should form an economic freedom that will be a lobby group aligned to the ANC, or should we form a political party? They said we must form a political party. Then we engaged in the process of drafting what we call the founding manifesto of the EFF. And in that founding manifesto of the EFF, that's where the policies of the EFF are contained. So from election to election, whatever you promise should be aligned to that founding manifesto. So let's talk about 7 non-negotiable cardinal pillars, for instance. They are in the founding manifesto. Expropriation of land without compensation is in the founding manifesto. So even if I so wish to get rid of it as a new president of the EFF, I've got no option, because the founding manifesto is not a subject of amendment. It stays forever. It's not a constitution that from conference to conference you can change. You have to make sure that you follow the founding manifesto. Then all of those policies are the ones that we've been advocating for in Parliament. In the founding manifesto, you find a minimum wage, for instance. We spoke about minimum wage in 2014. In 2013 founding manifesto, 2014 election manifesto, went to Parliament and sponsored a bill on minimum wage. The ANC rejected it initially, and ultimately in 2018 they agreed to it. And we were saying in 2014, no one must be paid less than the lowest paid worker must be paid 4,500. They refused and said a worker must be paid 20 rand per hour, and then a farm worker 18 rand per hour, and then domestic worker 15 rand per hour. If you calculate that money in 40 hours, it gives you 3 point something thousand, right? So which means the ANC said per man, people must get less than what the EFF said they must get in 2014. 2018. Then, fast forward, the latest adopted one says, no, they must actually get 27 rand. The good thing about it is that it's not now categorizing them, unlike the previous one, which was saying farm workers, says minimum wage, 27 rand. So between 2018 and now, if you calculate 27 rand, there's been an increase of 7 rand, and these people are now getting 4.6 or something like that, achieving what the EFF said in 2013, that no one paid than that amount of money. Using this is a point that we implementing that which is the founding principles of the EFF. Went into Parliament and said we must amend the Constitution to allow expropriation of land without compensation. From 2014, fighting for that. 2 years ago, the ANC then says, we agree. Let's establish a committee which is going to investigate if people agree for the expropriation of land without compensation. Went all over South Africa. Majority of people agreed with us, both in public participation and policy submissions in Parliament. Agreed with us. The ANC, we came here, there's a hotel here, I forgot the name. We went to have a meeting there with the ANC. Very senior comrades of the ANC were sent there, including, I remember Bulela Ncuga was there and others. We agreed on expropriation of land without compensation. When we go back to Parliament, having collected this and agreed with them, they bring an amended motion that we will expropriate land which belongs to the state and rotten land. What do we do with the rotten land? Because what rotten land is not those things of wet land. And then how do you expropriate that which you have? And then they say we must vote for that. We said no. And then they went out and said they voted against expropriation of land. They don't finish it. They don't say this is what we were proposing. They just say expropriation of land, but they don't explain what the amendment entailed. It's like Zuma when he went to vote for the killing of Gaddafi in the UN Security Council. He came back and said, I never voted for that. I voted for no-fly zone and stopped there. When he said, I voted for no-fly zone and stopped there, Floyd added that you voted for no-fly zone and any other means necessary. So that any other means necessary is what killed Gaddafi, and you voted for it. So you ought to listen to the detail of it in order to appreciate where do these people come from. Not once have we ever compromised on the expropriation of land without compensation. Look, the EFF gives black young professionals opportunity now through its existence without being government to fight for themselves and to be who they are. If you ask young professionals wherever they are, when a white boss wants to impose on them an illiterate white boy because he's a child of a boss, they just tell the white boss now that we are going to tell the EFF about this. The boss says, let's talk about it. It looks like it needs a different approach. Now, we've given black professionals the weapon they can use to protect themselves, and that is the EFF. Imagine we do that outside government. If we become government, none of our people will be disadvantaged. I'm not a lawyer like you, but I know for a fact that in the Constitution, it is very clear that in whatever we do, we need to address the imbalances and the inequalities of the past. And hence the emergence of those things of BEE and all of that. You cannot address South Africa's historical problem without addressing the empowerment of those who were rejected by the system, because it was a deliberate thing to keep you out. It must be a deliberate thing to bring you in. So you were not out by coincidence. Someone sat down and said, black children must not be taught mathematics because they will not have anywhere to use mathematics. And he was right. Verwoerd, I almost said Van Riebeeck, Verwoerd, same thing. Now, Verwoerd says, what are black people doing with maths? They can't use it anyway. He's right. Maths equals to high jobs and high opportunities. And high jobs and high opportunities were reserved for white people. So even if you pass maths, where are you going to go? And you can't go and work outside South Africa because once you do that, you are a terrorist. Even when you are just living professional, you get accused of being a terrorist. So they knew you are stuck here. How do you address that? You have to give these black people that which white people denied them. You have to make maths compulsory at school, and not maths literacy, mathematics, and say to them, I don't care whether you pass it or not, as long as once in your lifetime you came across calculations, then you will calculate life. Because everything we do is mathematics. For you to park a car, you don't have to see whether the number plate is close to the wall. By calculations, you just know, I've arrived. But someone without calculations thinks he has arrived. And they also know their own problem of not being good with calculations. They don't switch it off when they park it. They put it on neutral, handbrake, get out to go and check if it's not hitting the wall and there's still a space. He goes back again to drive it a little bit. But a person who can think and calculate knows this is how I move. So we're denied the ability to stretch our brains and contribute to the geography of knowledge because they didn't want us. So unlike Ian Smith in Zimbabwe, Ian Smith had no option. There were few whites and the economy was too big. Therefore, he needed extra hands to help him to build the Zimbabwean economy. And he was not going to build it with illiterate people. Hence, he educated everybody. There was no Bantu education in Zimbabwe for black African Zimbabweans, unlike us. White and black in Zimbabwe learned the same education. That's why sometimes you want to hate them or like them. We all often say Zimbabweans are educated because their education system has always been for all. So we need to deliberately empower people. The ANC made a terrible mistake in 1994. They gave us RDP houses. They should not have given us RDP houses. They gave us that white T-shirt, which had two doves of peace. And then they made us sing some songs. South Africa, we love you. But we're singing for peace. How do we sing for peace? We're not fighting with anyone. What is that? Then after they gave us T-shirts of peace, they gave us T-shirts of Masakan. There was something called Masakan. They bombarded us with those things. Hey, when you are still saying Masakan, they said, boom, RDP house. Had you given people free quality education in 1994, 30 years down the line today, they would have built their own houses. They would not have required an RDP house. Why? Education and employment, graduates and employment and empowerment are the same WhatsApp group. I'm not saying there are no unemployed graduates, but the percentage is very low. So the chances of getting a job and a quality paying job when you graduate, they are high. Education should have been, and painfully so, the ANC had a banner in 1994 that said free education. It said that. And they never implemented that. Kids had to be short here and all of that because they are asking that which was promised to their parents. So we are going to empower our people. We are the most unequal society according to the national standards. If you were to compare South Africa to other countries, we are number one because we have not resolved that issue. So the Gini co-effective competence, the Gini competent says the equality is between 0 and 1. And when you are close to 1, it means you are the most unequal society. When you are close to 0, it means the inequality is low. Right? So you go and look at what they say about South Africa. We are at 0.67, close to 1. And then all African countries that you want to speak bad about because you want to hate them. Not all, majority of them, majority of African states that were told are dysfunctional are actually at 0.5 something. They don't go close to 6 when it comes to equality in their own countries. So you can never resolve the issue of a historical disadvantage if you don't involve the deliberate empowerment of our people and address the inequality that exists in South Africa. And you can't address it by wanting to be nice to everybody. You have to take a firm decision. White people don't have a problem with that, by the way. White people just want to know where they stand. The leadership has to take a decision and be firm on its decision. When we were firm on BEE, there were a lot of millionaires in the township. Until this guy came. And every deal, from Tabo's time to now. I mean, if you say the problem is Zuma, where are the Saki Matozomas of this guy? Of the current guy? Mzikumalo of this guy? Where are they? So, the guy just came and engaged in an anti-black economic policy. And that's what we are subjected to now. So EFF appreciates that, and in its manifesto, it's very clear. We want to empower the oppressed, and the oppressed are those who are excluded from the economy. Young professionals, their home is EFF. In the EFF, we know that professionalism is accompanied by education. So you have to be educated. That's why we fight for free education and get a proper quality paying jobs. And at the center of the EFF policy making process, its input in parliament and its articulation in society, the EFF has always put the interest of young people forward, especially young black African professionals. They are our constituency. Well, I said again, I never said Floyd must be a minister of finance. I said, they said, okay, what if you are a deal breaker because it looks like you want to become the deputy president at all costs? Then I said, I have no problem. If I am a problem, I will pull back. But I will not accept anything. I'm accepting that I can't be deputy president in this deal. Let me pull back because Malema can't be a deal breaker. As long as the EFF is there, and I know when the EFF is there, we'll get what we want. I will pull back. Since you are pushing me out of the presidency, I will not accept anything less than Minister of Finance. And that Minister of Finance is Floyd Shibambu, because he's got every quality you can think of to become a Minister of Finance. Then Gwede Mantashe says, yo, you put Floyd Shibambu, Minister of Finance, there's going to be looting. That is a person who walks around with looting of Busasa cameras in his stomach as he moves around. He thinks he can educate us about looting. Look at Minister of Finance now, and Ferrier will know this. He had admitted to stealing the workers' money when he was in the union. He admitted to that. Actually, when the scandal broke, right, he was something deputy, what. He had to resign because of that scandal. A junior position because of that scandal. He comes back on a senior position of finance with this kind of clout that he's got and which he has never denied when he was a unionist. So what are you talking about? You cannot come here and tell me that because of the VBS, Floyd doesn't qualify to be a minister of finance. Floyd, there's no finding. You can go and read a VBS report. There is no finding that Floyd got the money of VBS. There is a finding in Parliament against Floyd that he got the money from his brother and he did not declare it. So he's not found guilty in Parliament for VBS money. He's found guilty for having not declared his brother's loan to him. A loan that he has submitted all types of loan agreements to SARS. Competent, qualified institution accept that as an explanation. Parliament for political expediency doesn't accept that. You cannot, you cannot believe in the story that the EFF looted billions of VBS. Let's say, for argument's sake, the EFF got this money, which is how much? 16 million? 16 million. They say we got 16 million from VBS. Out of 2 billion, we got 16 million. Right? No one asked the question, where is the rest of the money? Leave that hypocrisy. Go and check the percentage of people who are charged in court now because of VBS. 90% of them are ANC members and leaders. No single EFF leader, including the treasurer of the ANC in Limpopo, Denny Musiza, is charged for VBS. No single leader of the EFF has been charged for VBS. No, you can't be financed VBS because the VBS was the work of the intelligence to discredit the good image of the EFF because they could not falter it politically and spread that in the media. I accept I'm a problem to Ramaphosa and the ANC. I've caused them a headache. They are in power. Imagine they come across some evidence like that Malema stole 16 million. With the power they have, they don't charge me. Why? They know there is no such a thing. They did that to me. They charged me before in Limpopo. I've never fought anyone. I went to court. Then the judge said, but this guy has been coming here for 2 to 3 years now. Every time he rocks up in the box, you say you are not ready for his case. Why did you charge him if you're not ready? They were charging me to discredit me so that I cannot politically contest them. They're using VBS for the same thing. So it's up to you if you want to believe a lie. I'm saying to you, just one question, ask yourself. But these guys who disrupt Ramaphosa in parliament and cause all types of problems, and then he says they stole 16 million, and this guy is the president, he controls Bato, he controls Minister of Police, Minister of Justice, everything. Why is he not arresting this trouble?
Okay.
He has got nothing on us. So you cannot discredit, amongst other qualifications he has, by the way, it's a master's from here, the governance school. Yeah, at WITS, Floyd Shibam. You cannot disqualify a person on the basis of unfounded allegation. Listen to Floyd and give him a chance. You'll appreciate that this guy has got a different kind of brain.
No, thank you very much. I allowed you to address those questions as exhaustively as possible, but we'll manage time. Before I come back to the audience, since we are talking Floyd finance money, how are you financing your campaign?
Now, let's start at the, and I always tell this story because it always fascinates me. We're preparing 10th anniversary rally of the EFF at FNB Stadium. We're hustling, we're getting money from Parliament and IEC and then provinces where the EFF is represented. That's our money, where it comes from. Then we have party levy. And we collect no less than 2 million per month from our own party levy. We've got no less than 1,100 public representatives that pay their party levy loyally. So that's the money that we use to do work. As we prepare for 10th anniversary, the IEC puts in the EFF account 37 million. And then the TG says there is 37 million here. We didn't expect it. We don't understand. I said, call them. Call them. They said, no, it's a special allocation to political parties. I said, write the letter to them so they can respond in writing. They responded in writing. 37 million. Yadu Tlamonat. Unexpected. That's how we pulled that big rally with their money. The money was not meant for us, by the way. When that money came, I told the TG, the ANC went to say, we need money, we're in trouble. So allocate money to everyone. So once we got 37 million, because that money is given proportionally, once you are given 37 million, you can imagine how much the ANC got from that allocation. The ANC financed the EFF 10th anniversary at the FNB Stadium because it was desperately looking for money, and we had to get all of us. Then come to the elections. We go to Standard Bank. We say to Standard Bank, give us a loan of 100 million for elections. They go make their own assessment. They say you don't qualify, we'll give you 60 million. So we say, sharp, bring. Then they bring. When they bring 60 million to us, we take 40 million, which we're owing to the service provider of the 2021 local government elections. So this is how we do it. We take a credit from this service provider, post us this. Then over a period of 5 years, because we get money quarterly from IEC, Parliament and all of that, we pay them. So we take 40 million, we give that guy. The guy is the happiest man. We look at him, we say, hey, can you give us a credit of 60 million? You are not going to use anything. Here's the money, 60 million. The guy approves. That's how you see all of these posters. It's as a result of a loan that we asked from Standard Bank. We went back to Standard Bank a month or so ago. We said to them, isn't it now we finished that 60 million? Because the 20 in the main is the one that worked Moses Mabhida Stadium. So Mabhida and this current campaign is that man. We go back to the bank and say, no man, you made miscalculations. You can't say we don't qualify for 100 million. Let's start afresh, because you can't fight with them and say you're refusing 60. You take 60 and you put it aside and say, man, let's understand each other. What are you saying? Then they say, okay, we hear you, submit 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what we're busy with now. So how do you pay the bank? We've got an arrangement with the bank that the IEC money, once it clocks into the EFF IEC account, the bank takes it away. We don't see it. We service the debt of the bank. We're the only political party that has got a building owned to its name in the whole of South Africa in less than 10 years.
Thank you. Let me take some. Okay. We'll start at the back and then come to Lengiwe. No, I want to spread a bit to the left.
Yeah.
We'll come back to you.
You must come to the left, is important.
Yes, please. Please say your name.
Hello, my name is Modise Maite. I'm from Vrystaat.
Sure.
I would like to first thank everyone for the opportunity to talk. I want to know, this is in relation to graduates versus education versus employment in South Africa. Mm-hmm. There are students, mainly from Mpumalanga and Free State, who are sent overseas by their provincial governments to study courses like medicine and many other courses. Mm-hmm. And when they come here to South Africa, they are exposed now to this high-level testing. What can the leadership of the EFF do to make sure that these citizens of ours come back home and serve the people of South Africa without being involved in this high level of testing, whereas they were sent by our own professional governments? Thank you.
Thank you. I can take the gentleman in the middle. Your name, please.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Ndipio Matigiza. President, I think my question is around the 7 pillars of the manifesto. When the EFF takes over, it has 5 years to implement the 7 pillars. Now, my question to you is that 5 years is sufficient because, one, we'll have to do a bit of cleaning up to make sure that those pillars are achieved. And second of all, if we're cleaning up, not everyone will understand the process of cleaning up in terms of removing what you deem not fit to achieve the 7 pillars. Now, my question is the EFF doing enough to educate people in the villages or the youth to understand what it's going to take to flip around the state of the country in achieving the 7 pillars? Thank you.
Thank you. How do you manage a crisis of expectations? I have a lady in front here, money right in front. My colleague Lengiwe, Dr. Ndlovu.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, CIC, for your insightful comments that you've been sharing with us. My question is on one of the most controversial issues that we've dealt with beginning of this year. And I'm happy that today it's in your own voice, through your own lens, outside of social media and what social media has said. So this is related to the matter of MP Naledi Chira and missing the budget speech and how that sparked a debate on social media with many of us as women asking what is the position of women within those spaces if you have to apologize for having a sick baby at home and then rushing to attend that emergency. So my question to you would be, I've read many of your manifestos from local governments to national, and I've known the stance of the political party in terms of gender transformation and gender equity. But following that event, I would like to know what has been done about that. I know some of these things are internal political issues. Did Naledi ended up paying the gazebos as she was fined? And what are the implications of that in terms of the position of women and women being, in most cases relegated to reproductive labor and having to carry, some of these important duties, especially in parliament. And also, how is the EFF as a political party actively thinking about gender transformation beyond the party? And if you are to position yourself as the next ruling party, how long should we expect to see a woman president in this country? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I have a lady in front here, please.
This is a young student here. Lena.
Greetings to all in attendance.
Your name, please.
My name is Bugisa, but I'd like to greet the CIC first and also the incoming President of the Republic. I have 2 questions. My first question is with regards to the role of local government in the land reform project, right? So what does the EFF say with regards to balancing development for the future, right, through either industrialization or building of the finance sector, and balancing it with like social reform to encourage economic transformation? That's the first one. And then secondly, how do we build good governance, not to just have ideals like transparency as tick box exercises? How do we build a system that is proactive in ensuring that leaders are accountable to the citizens of this country? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we should come back to you.
Yeah.
And in some, actually, it's a question about is the EFF really a party of government?
No, I think that this question on the students who study overseas and then having to come back and be subjected to a further training and all kinds of treatment, it is actually an issue that emanates from people who are not professional in their approach of government. So if you are a politician and you happen to be a minister, you must know that you are now a professional politician. You're not just a politician. You are a professional politician. So you ought to have some level of professionalism in that. When I send people to go and study medicine, I should send them to a country where I know their standards meet my standard. The further training is because you don't have confidence in that other training. How do you take kids to Cuba? They go there for 7 years. And I think Cuba is even worse because the first 2 years you must learn Spanish and then learn Lenin and Marx, because they don't just want the doctor, they want the revolutionary doctor. So how do you send them there? And then they come back here and then you say this must be a further training. I have no problem, send them there. When they are about to complete there, bring them back so they do their practicals here. When they graduate straight into employment, not into further training. So we don't want this thing of Ace Mahashule Premier wakes up every morning, he met some prime minister of what, or president of what, and he says, no, I'll bring 30 students. What are the standards there? What are the issues? No idea. In the EFF Founding Manifesto, we say, we are going to give 10,000 scholarships for students to go and study overseas on the field that we don't have the necessary skills here in South Africa. But they can only be sent to the countries where we know that they will come back with the necessary skill. So if you send a child to go and do film production in China, and then he comes back here, you must know he's the best. They're the best in film. Don't by Hollywood nonsense of imperialism. So he must go learn film production in China and then still come here and learn further training after coming from China from the best on film production. What are you saying? So whatever you do, do not play with the future of our children. Because they too, they plan their life. They know I'm going for this much. When I'm back, this is how I'm moving forward. We have to, and it's not 21st birthday, we have to inculcate political education and culture amongst our people to have an appreciation of what we stand for. And that's why in the EFF, we're not in a hurry for these things. Because we first want to make sure that we ground our people on political understanding and policies of the EFF. Because with our policies, if we take over tomorrow, the DA has got a potential of mobilizing our own people against us after they voted for us, if they are not political. So you ought to tell them that when we expropriate land without compensation, we're going to be attacked by the West, we're going to be attacked by America, all types of things are going to happen. You need to be mentally ready because we must look for alternative markets. This thing that America must be a permanent big brother at some point must come to an end. And the big markets are emerging in the world, and that's where we should be leaning to. I really don't know what is an issue about Naledi Chiro, because Doctor, if you work here in the School of Governance, and it happens that you are taking a child to hospital tomorrow morning, because you can't foresee that your child is going to be sick, so you wake up, the child is sick, you rush the child to a hospital. There is no way, at the level of your professionalism, you cannot call your supervisors and say, hey man, I'm unable to come because I've got an emergency. You don't have to be a woman. Being a woman does not mean be unprofessional and hide behind being a woman. Myself, I can miss my work because my child is sick. Actually, if I'm at work and I'm told my child is sick, I will leave work. But I won't live in a disrespectful way because I'm a man. No, I'm under a certain leadership. I have to say to them, comrades, I'm not going to make it because I'm rushing home, my child is sick. You don't do that, right? You don't do that. You don't do that even after you come back to work. You don't do it. You don't do it. You come back to work, you don't tell anyone anything. The day we say to you, hey, where were you on such a day because you had this role to play and you didn't play it? That's what happens in the EFF. We write you a letter. Please explain where you were on such a day. She never said that to us. There was someone who gave explanation who was not there, and the explanation got accepted. She doesn't say that to us. She says all manner of things. We get to know about a sick child on the social media. I told you, you go to parliament, you become a minister, you become a professional politician. That kind of attitude will not accept in the EFF. Not from a man, not from a woman. Because there is no man, there is no woman in the EFF. It's the leadership. And the leadership must behave in a manner befitting of leadership. We are the first ones ourselves to be represented in all spheres of government, 50%. There's no party in South Africa today, as a matter of principle and policy, that says we must have 50% everywhere you go. In the EFF, we want 8 party agents. 4 of them must be women. In the EFF, we want 2 delegates. 1 of them must be women. If there are 2 women, there is no problem. In the EFF, we have the 50-50 in the top 6, with a national chairperson of the EFF being a woman. Now, when this decision is being made about Naledi, because of social media and all of that, all of you see me in taking that decision. I was not even involved. The Wipari in Parliament is the national chairperson, woman. Klengwe Mkalipi, woman. TG Umpile Mautwe, woman. Mama Reneilo Mashabela, woman. Mbwiseni Ndlozi, man.
Oh, really?
Mabatu from the NCOP, woman. So that decision as to, hey, where were you, men? Why didn't you do this in Parliament and all of that? I'm not involved. Then their boss, of course, is the deputy president as a chief whip. But the whipper is the one that is responsible for us. Where are we? Did we attend committees? Did you do this? Did you do that? So the decision was taken. I saw a response on the social media. I went to check. They said, no, we inquired as to what is the explanation. The explanation was not sufficient. And we're like, we're not going to accept this because this organization from its foundation is built on discipline. Yeah. You are going to be disciplined whether you like it or not. You don't want to be disciplined. There is a party next door with yellow colors. You can go there. And that's where you do as you wish. Ours is democratic centralism because democracy that is not managed can be anarchy. Rights this, rights that. Look at our rights now. Prisoners get free uniform. Learners don't have free uniform. The uniform she's wearing, the mother bought it. She doesn't get it for free. She wants a free uniform. She must go to prison. How do you give prisoners free uniform and you don't give learners free uniform? You give prisoners flushing toilet. Students, learners in the Eastern Cape don't have flushing toilets. Prisoners have. You give prisoners breakfast, lunch, supper. Our people in Alexander, if they have a meal that day, they are very fortunate. But prisoners have got a guaranteed meal. Prisoners have got running water. Prisoners have got electricity. I heard you saying ministers are buying themselves generators to fight load shedding. Prisoners have got generators. They don't know load shedding. So prisoners live in a much more better position than an ordinary person who's not in prison in South Africa because majority of our people are living in extreme poverty. Almost 18.6 million people in South Africa live in extreme poverty. So when you use lower and middle income to define poverty, you have 34 million people in 2023 alone in South Africa who lived in poverty in South Africa. So, and that is 41% of your population, by the way. So we cannot allow these things to happen. We have to reprioritize our priorities. So women, gender equality, there must not be a female president, there must be a president, whether female or not. No one must deny people that they can't be president because they are women. No one can do that. Women must stand, accept the nominations wherever they are nominated for positions of president, and both men and women must support them on the basis of their qualities. No one must say, we're not going to be governed here by a woman. There is no such a policy in the EFF. So, a woman president is inevitable. We almost had, by the way, Pumzile. President Mbeki, when he was fighting with Zuma, went to Bloemfontein and said, we need a female president before Polokwane. And then he goes to Polokwane. He forgets it's not a female. He stands himself. After he said, He wants a female president, and no one called him a flip-flopper, by the way. He's an intellectual, he's a thinker. Right? President Mbeki, the way he was so powerful, we feared that guy. When that guy walked into the corridors of COSAS, he knows we used to run like this. You know, a president you must run to. We run opposite direction, hiding. That if he asks you some difficult question, how are you going to navigate it? Had President Mbeki said Phumzile must be president of South Africa, he was going to write about it. If you don't hear him, he was going to write every Friday about it until you hear him. He was going to argue it intellectually and politically as to why. And with the power he had, we're going to accept it. President Mbeki was the most influential person, even when we went to remove him in Polokwane in the Youth League. No one removed President Mbeki out of hatred. No one removed President Mbeki because we said he doesn't have capacity. We refused a third term. And that was so scary to us because of his proximity with President Mugabe. And we're like, this guy who has a 2/3 says, I'm going to be president of the ANC. The constitution of the country doesn't allow third term. But the guy's got 2/3. He leaves Polokwane straight to Cape Town. He tells them, amend this thing and allow limitless presidency. What are you going to do? We were against the third term, and no one capable was ready to challenge him. That's how much he was feared. Then Zuma said, I've got nothing to lose. That's how he became president. Because we had no one. Emmanuel could stand. Phumzile could not stand. And look at what President Mbeki did to Phumzile now. She went to join COPE. And then she came back to the ANC. And you must know, in the ANC, once you go outside, when you go back, they say Phumzile, but which one? That one of COPE. So it's like when you leave the EFF, when you go back to the ANC, we say, but which one? The one of EFF. You are still called by your previous poll. So she will never, I can tell you now, she will never emerge in the ANC as a female president. So I'm answering the question, what about a female president? We almost, and South Africa was not going to reject that. The ANC was not going to reject that. Here's a man who's popular. They say they remove him as deputy president. They put Phumzile as deputy president. No one fought that decision. That's how much we've always been ready for quality leadership. Local government, in the EFF manifesto, especially in 2021, we advocate for local government that will make land available to those who want to industrialize and beneficiate in those local municipalities. If we want to activate local economy, the municipality must go extra mile and give certain incentives to those who are prepared to leave the cities, the big cities, and come and invest there. And then we also are advocating for local procurements of goods and services. That you cannot have a prison that buys tomato from Johannesburg, and that prison is in Venda, the most arable land in Venda. ZZ2 is one of the biggest producers of tomato in South Africa. The prison doesn't buy the tomato from ZZ2. It waits for it to get into a truck. It must make a turn in Joburg and then come back to Venda. What is that? So when you buy, you encourage people to work the land because they know the customer is already here. Services must be procured from local. There is no way you can say whatever you want to say. And some of you say Zimbabweans are taking your jobs, Nigerians are taking your jobs. It's not true. The economy is stuck. The economy is stuck because manufacturing has collapsed. Manufacturing used to be one of the biggest contributors to our GDP at 24%, like in 1989. Today, manufacturing accounts for 14%. Our economy has been financialized. Financial institutions are now the biggest contributors of the GDP at 14%, at 24%, and manufacturing at 14%. But finance used to be at 14%, so they swapped places. And the swapping of places by manufacturing and finance, it means South Africa is engaged in deindustrialization. And it favors more the dominance of the financial market into our economy. And the financial market does not invest in the long term. It only works with short term. So what they do, they handle what we call hot money. So they put their money here. It doesn't make sense. They want something that is easily movable. That's why they will not finance anything that is industrial, because industrial is long term. Textile industry has collapsed. In the last 30 years, we lost almost 150,000 jobs in textile industry. Today, textile industry employs only 80,000 people. Where I grew up, there used to be a textile factory. Every time I'm playing outside my grandmother's yard, people used to come walking in their numbers like this. Because in the morning, we don't see them, we're sleeping. So I've always been curious, where these people come from? But no one fair make a most called discreet. What does it do? It makes clothes. Used to employ a lot. It has collapsed. The buildings are there. They're still standing there. Let local government say whoever is going to utilize this factory for whatever purpose, and you employ so much people, we will discount your water, we'll discount your electricity, or we'll do this. Give them something to come back into our townships. So that's what we actually are advocating for. There is no way we're going to get it right without industrialization and beneficiation in South Africa. Financialization of our economy is the downfall of this. And finance, how many banks in South Africa? 30 banks. All of them are white-owned. 5 dominant banks, all of them white-owned. They decide where they put their money. Guess what? They never borrow or lend money to anyone who wants to industrialize. They're looking at, you must pay us now. Because if this Julius Malema takes over and we don't like him, we can't carry an industry and run with it. But the money we can press, transfer, and off we go. They don't want to invest in South Africa because of racism and the disregard of the leadership of African leadership. They don't trust us with their money. That's why they put it in a liquidity, so that anytime they can disappear with it. One of the 7 cardinal pillars of the EFF is an accountable and free society where people don't live in the fear of state agencies. So leaders, when you want to hold them accountable, they send hawks to you. Or when you are like Bratemba here in the School of Governance, they send whoever they want to send, or no, you must go for vetting. And not just, you are just a professor teaching, but we must vet you. And then the highest form of vetting, and then we must also do a lie detector on you. Because you are going to reach out. You are so scared, like, what is this? You reach out to a minister. Minister says, don't worry, we'll work on it. Then they've got the control of you from that time. No one must be captured in that sense by the state. People must be free to express themselves and hold the leadership accountable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. We are going to, with the indulgence of the audience, spill over slightly. We've had the president speaking for an hour.
No, you can tell last 5 and then
1 hour 45 minutes now. But
You have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, not 5 minutes. 5 hands. You can take 5 hands.
Okay.
The last one, yeah.
So we'll take a last round
And it must be gender balanced.
Yes, we'll take a last round of questions. I think we've done very well with gender so far. But before I come to the audience, and please be as concise as possible. You raised the issue of financialization, the problem of deindustrialization, the importance which speculation has assumed now in economies around the world. And this is not just something which is common to South Africa. It's a Pan-African challenge, and maybe it would be interesting for this audience to hear what would be the kernel of the EFF's Africa renewal policy and strategy in as concise a manner as possible.
You know, the EFF advocates for one Africa where movements of goods and individuals is free and we can trade with one another. One of the things we need to do is to revive the African economy to avoid this pettiness that we are being subjected to. Because in the absence of industrialized continent, our brothers and sisters are always going to look for greener pastures. That's how, by the way, we arrived here. There's no one here seated here who can claim that their ancestors didn't arrive here looking for greener pastures. They were moving from the north to the south. And their survival was what we used to call hunter-gatherer fisher. So it's hunting, it's gathering, and it's fishing. So they always look for a green land. And next to it, there must be water because there must be fishing. But not only for fishing, this livestock that we go around with, it must have a river where it can drink water from, beautiful land where it can graze. It can never be with our generation that advocate for decoloniality, then say Africans are not free to move in their own continent. Show me in any policy of the EFF where I say Africans must not have documents. The reason why you are not catching these Mozambicans who are stealing cars is because of that gate. But once we all belong to one continent, everybody will be having a passport of that continent. Everyone. Which means you can be located somewhere. We'll find you. Everybody. So what is your problem? And there is some level of madness, Prof, where we've got a gate called a border. It's a gate. But there's no fence. Just imagine a person going to his house. He has installed a gate and there's no fence. He opens that gate and closes it, and not just close it, lock it. There's no fence. No, anyone who says there is a fence is lying. There's no fence. These are artificial. So we need to industrialize. We need to electrify the whole continent. We can get ESCOM to electrify the whole continent. And the whole continent pays us for electricity. Because ESCOM has got the necessary capacity to can electrify the whole continent. Don't tell me about these man-made problems, which can be resolved by capacity only. So you have to now use the minerals of the continent in the continent. So if we are good with giving them electricity, another country will be good at giving us this. And then imagine us alone, Prof, with Zimbabwe. We account for not less than 85% of the platinum. Then the next biggest country who has platinum is Russia. So if we bring Russia, then we are now at 90% owners of platinum. Why can't we decide the price of platinum? Because we're the owners of platinum. It can only be done if the continent is together. DRC is in crisis today, and it will never be resolved because of its minerals. Those people destabilizes that country so that they can take the minerals in that country, without paying taxes because there is no proper government. I mean, people go into a forest and build a landing strip. There's no one who controls the airspace there. They just go in, zoom, collect whatever they collect and leave. When we say one continent, all of that, those are the people who get threatened that no, what's going to happen to this thing that we're doing? So, as students of decoloniality, you should know how the borders came about. And you can't say you don't support apartheid and colonialism and support the things that made us to be divided the way we are. So they always say, no, I can't vote for EFF. Why? Because of the borders. Then I normally ask them the question, who made the borders? It's the EFF now that has made the borders. It's not EFF that made the borders. Why are you accusing us of the things we have not? There were no borders. And all of us must advocate for that. This thing that when people are hungry, they are going to leave their countries and come here is not true. I come from a poverty-stricken province of Limpopo. There is no fence. My people stay there. They never came here to come and cause trouble for you. Yet there is no fence, and yet they are poor. They don't have water and electricity in almost, just from Amanskral going down. Amanskral people never moved from Amanskral to come to Sandton because there is water there. So this is unscientific. This is based on pure hatred of self. It's a pure self-hatred which has got no basis. We can argue it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So this is going to be a bit difficult. I'll take the lady. Please introduce yourself. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. This is a question for Mr. Malema. What would a good May 31st look like for you? That's the results day. Do you think you'll be the official opposition? It looks like in Gauteng, at least, an ANC-EFF coalition is the done deal. Do you agree with that? And what are the terms of such, if so?
Okay, thank you. You didn't tell us your name, or I missed it. You didn't tell us your name, or did I miss it?
I think you missed it. My name's Ferial Hafaji. I'm a journalist with the Daily Maverick.
Thank you very much indeed. Is there a secret done deal? May I take? Yes. The gentleman at the far end. When I wanted to call you, you were looking away busily. Okay. Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Maswil from the SABC News.
Oh, yes.
Yes. The question is about, you've answered part of it, is on expropriation of land without compensation. That issue has been out of Parliament since 2021 when the EFF voted against it for the reasons that you've already given. So the question is, when is it going back to Parliament? Because it cannot just be part of your manifesto forever and ever. And another question is on the chairperson of that committee was Matule Mutshekga. And recently, Mutshekga was seen in one of the podcasts saying the people in Parliament are fighting for crumbs instead of distributing land to the people. What's your reaction on that one? Another one is on
No, please. Thank you very much. Could I take the gentleman at the far end? I know there are many questions, but at the far end. Yeah, the gentleman in the T-shirt.
Good evening, colleagues, and thank you very much. Mr. Malema, my name is Roy Kamwanga. I'm a PhD student in the Department of Political Study here at WITS. I'm also Congolese, and that is the context of my question today. You are a true Pan-Africanist. You have continuously showed solidarity to the African continent. So here's my question based on that context, what is your position on the SADC mission in the DRC, taking into account the resources constraint that South Africa is going through and the desperate conditions of the Congolese people in the eastern parts of the DRC, seeing that our government has failed to control the situation for so many years? And lastly, what is yours and the EFF's position on the DRC's call to sanction Rwanda, and how will the diplomatic tensions between these two countries position South Africa and the EFF? Thank you.
Okay, merci beaucoup. There's a lady out here. I have to do gender balance.
Yes.
As directed. Please introduce yourself.
Providing 2.5 million jobs by 2029, and actually SA said 4.8 and it said 2 million. But the EFF didn't quite specify, and I think the manifesto as well, and it provided probably the most comprehensive action plan around jobs. So I just wanted to find out, in terms of these figures, how feasible or attainable are they? And in terms of grants, EFF promised to provide grants for unemployed graduates. And I just wanted to find out where would the funds be coming from and who would be sustainable.
Okay, thank you. Good question on the economy. In front here, please.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Commander-in-Chief and President Julius Malema, the students of WITS University have voted for the EFF Student Command to be in governance. So you are at home under the president of Bugisa Bonisa. So, President, the students always go to the streets year in, year out, asking for free education. And we have a minister who is Minister Bladin Zimande, that in every term where he comes into office, we see the worst things happening. The recent one being Tenet, where he's appointed his own service providers so that they can share money between NFSAS and fund the election campaign of SACP under the ANC. Please, President, after the day of victory on the 30th of May, save us from that man, which is number one. But the EFF Student Command, here on campus, we have 3 voting districts. We already have 41,000 plus students that have agreed to say that they are ready to be, led by the EFF, which is the same thing that happens in all different campuses around the country. But you had mentioned when you started that there is a point of fatigue before there is adrenaline that takes over and makes sure that people will continue to work for the victory of the EFF in the provincial and national elections. So, any words of encouragement, President? We are more than energetic, but I know that many young people would appreciate hearing from you directly a clarion call. I might be jumping the gun, a clarion call, but to say that there's 34 days that are remaining to just give us that vibranium so that we can go and even get to, be in governance outrightly.
Okay, thank you.
Also, President, before you leave, can I please get a picture to send?
Okay. You'll have plenty of photo opportunity. But not when you load him with so many questions at the same time. I'll take one more to make it 6 questions for this round. Yes, let me take the gentleman there. For those who may not get to ask questions, when you take the photos outside, you can.
Yes.
I'm from Malule. So my question is only with the monetary system. So I want to understand physical currency because we see that the world towards digital currency? And if so, I want to understand what are the policies that the EFF wish to implement to protect that currency that will belong to the Africans so that it doesn't get tampered with and it doesn't get misused.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Over to you.
Thank you very much. You know, when you run a marathon, you always want to become number one. And that's what we are actually targeting. And if we fail, we must be number two. Because number three will not be achievement. That's what we are. So it can be. And declining is not an option for anyone involved in the EFF work. You know, coalitions in Gauteng, they might look easy. They are not easy, Feriel. We're battling it out. But the good thing is that, which will happen in the country, the good thing is that the people who lead the ANC now are the people that we led with in the Youth League. And somehow were able to reach out to each other and make the ANC to be loyal to the decisions we have taken, because the ANC is the most unreliable partner you want to relate with. I mean, they just cheated now with Action SA in Iguruleng, these cheaters, and removed our mayor. So then we had to go back. They said, no, wait, man. Let's work together and all of that. Why? They said, okay, we're going to work with you. We want finance. And then we take the mayor. I mean, you take the mayor. We said, no, you can't get finance. You can't entrust the resources of the people with you. We're going to get finance, you take the mayor. There is no crooked invoice that is going to pass there of crooked ANC arrangement. We are there to look after the resources of our people. Every cent that is going to leave the coffers of that municipality will go into what is intended for. Any other thing is not going to happen. So we are heading there. It's inevitable for the country to be in a coalition. Why? The local government tells you what's going to happen national because it starts grassroots upwards. And the ANC, when it loses, it has got no history of recovery. Once they lose forever. They don't come back. They don't say, yo, hey, let's go back to the drawing board. No, they lose. Wire. Like, they lost Western Cape. And then they never recovered it. They lost Tshwane, they lost Joburg. In 2016, they never recovered it. If anything, they became worse in 2021 after 2016. The ANC declined under Ramaphosa to 57% from 63%. When Ramaphosa was the guy, man, yeah, you will think this guy. Everyone was like, no, we're going forward. We've got a new president. We had a horrible president. Let's go. This is the guy. Even with his charm and the media around him and the money, he could not increase the ANC votes at that time. When he was still hot. Can you imagine now what is he going to do when what he couldn't do in 2019? Reduce the ANC votes to 57%. Mbalula says, because we used to be friends in our informal gatherings, he says, hey, my guy, this guy declined your votes. He says, hey, if it was not this guy, it would have been worse. So that 57, we thank this guy for it, because had it been Nkosi Zana or anyone, we're out. So you can criticize him anyhow you want. He saved us with that 57%. At that time, he didn't increase their votes. 2021, local government elections, he has put them at 40-something% now. In local government elections, national. in 2021, Ramaphosa. So what has changed between 2021 and now which can make Ramaphosa to have a magic? And listen to him when he does door to door. The things he says to people. A young girl says, I'm looking for a job and all of that, keep searching. A man says, no, buy me a fridge. He says, where were you working? I was working at what? I'll go to them and ask them to buy you a fridge. But if someone says to me, buy me a fridge, I'm going to laugh loud and then call a name of whoever is there. Mbuyiseni, I know. Mbuyiseni knows what he has to do. He has to get the fridge. I can't say the fridge in public as a state president because everybody says, what about me? What about me? But I must have the skill to respond to that guy because that guy met the president in his house. Something must give. That president walked into my house. There must be a difference. What is this thing of going to Aman's Kral? You have no solutions, but you are going. To do what? Because you know the problem. You are a president, minister, come here. What is the issue? Okay, which solution do you have? And then you, which budget can we redirect? Once you have worked that, you say, no, I've got a package. You go there. You don't announce you've got a package. You just go there and say, well, listen to people. Just stop there. Minister, do you hear what this guy is saying? Monday, I don't want Monday to end. There must be an advert for this tender immediately. Whatever you do, work 48. But I know that the tender is already being prepared. When I leave, people say the president said this thing must happen on Monday. It's happening. Why do you act like you don't have information? You don't have access to information. You arrive there, you get shocked like everybody. And then they say you are a president. The president is the executive. Our position of president in South Africa is the executive. These things of minister this, minister that is fancy ways. The real titles for those guys is assistants of the president on education, on finance, on defense, on police. They are assisting him. If you don't do your work and it's not happy, he can take that guy, defense, and put it in his office. No one will question him. You can make the noise you want to make. There's a problem here. I want to solve it. The same way he went to fetch intelligence and put intelligence in his office, but there is a crisis of intelligence. It's not true. He brought intelligence in his office because, not even to listen to us, Shem. Cyril won't, even if he listens to us, what will he do? There's nothing he can do. He doesn't take any action. He brought the intelligence into his office because of the slush fund. There is too much money in the intelligence. Now your president was caught with dollars. You don't ask the question, where did he get the dollars? Slush funds includes all foreign currencies. All currency you can think of. There are pounds there. You remember the story when they said they broke into the SSA offices, they took the foreign currency money. So, boom, your president is found with dollars. Where did the guy get the dollars? But this guy sits in his office with slush fund. No one can audit those people. When you enter, first thing, that thing I said they will do with vetting. Here is kids from Auditor General's office. Auditors. Well, because it's not the Auditor General who audits. She's got her own staff. But no, these kids are not vetted, these ones. Now, how do they go and check the finances of the intelligence when they are not vetted? Okay, vet them. It's them who must vet you. Like they did with Mbuyiseni. They vetted him and asked him all kinds of questions because he sits in the intelligence committee. Till today, they didn't give you a certificate. Did they give you the thing? But he was subjected to lie detect. And then he was asked of some deposit, some high school sweetheart deposited into his account. Who's this one? And then he forgot. He said, what's the name? Wait, but who's this one? All manner of harassment. And then they withhold that thing, vetting certificate. They don't issue it. They say, no, we're coming. That's it. In the military, intelligence is worse. Money gets used the way the Speaker of Parliament was using it when she was there. You can't do anything. Those generals in the army, they don't play with anyone, including politicians. They look at you and tell you that thing's not going to happen, what you are trying to do. You were here and you were told the army went to buy vaccine in Cuba. Yeah, they didn't follow the process. Yeah, the Cuban vaccine didn't pass South Africa's test. What. It must go back. They went there, they told them, where is it going? It's not going anywhere. These ones are going to be vaccinated with Cuban vaccine. They were vaccinated with that vaccine of Cuba. No one could do anything. They just tell you, what are you talking about? Who are you? Yeah, it's done. That's how powerful the state is. And this guy is abusing that office for that purpose. Expropriation of land without compensation is going to be the first agenda in the negotiations for coalitions. We are not far apart with the ANC on expropriation of land without compensation, because at the core of the foundation of the ANC in 1912, it was the land. The occupation of South Africa was followed by wars of dispossession, and people were fighting over the land. And the kings came together and educated men and said, we need to come together and reclaim our land in an organized manner. And that's when the ANC was formed. So everything else we are saying here in the EFF is the original demands of the revolution. Not these artificial things that we're speaking about. At the core was the land. Then they took cattle. The cattle at that time represented the wealth of the country, because there was no discovery of diamond and gold and all of those things at the time. So when we say we demand the return of the land and the wealth of the country, we're demanding even those cattle. But today, because the economy is different, we're saying the minerals and natural resources must come back into the hands of the... So Motsecha is not... I was with Motsecha in that committee. We were aligned. That's why when Terra tried to take chances with one speaker, I almost forgot him. What are you doing now? Because the ANC and the EFF were this, on the expropriation of land without compensation. So, for whatever reason, because it looks like, Prof, there is something that these guys have signed or agreed to in CODESA, which they are not telling us about. Because they know they know what needs to be done. When they are about to do what is to be done, they remind them of the minutes or something, or remember. Because Thandi Modise, when she became the Speaker of Parliament, the first thing we're singing the same song with her is the relocation of Parliament to Pretoria. She was advocating for that. We were together as the EFF with Thandi. Arrival, when she was arriving. It didn't take 3 months. Thandi was saying something else. So what did they, we can't say they bought here. They just something they went, because those things were negotiated settlements. So they have to be loyal to the decisions they did. SADC's deployment to DRC, there is nothing wrong with that. Actually, Africans must learn to deploy to help each other, not against each other. And it should not be done at the detriment of our own children who are not properly trained. Our army, Prof, is not properly trained. It has got no capacity. It has got no resources. There was a fire that took place in an army base in Northern Cape and killed soldiers. May their souls rest in peace. That fire was not started by the enemy or by anyone. Fire starts now. Because those things are farms. As farmers, we know that we are always ready for fire. When the fire starts in the military base, There is no fire truck. There is no fire extinguisher. You're dealing with fire. Military means fire. That's why they talk fire by fire. If anyone attacks that thing, how are you going to extinguish the fire? Then they go, boom. You know, every building you go to, you find some red things hanging here. Fire extinguishers there, is here. That thing. They go fetch those things to try and extinguish the fire. That thing has expired. It doesn't release anything. Why? There's no service in the military. So now what happens? They have to cut the trees and try to stop the fire with branches of the trees. That's how those comrades died. And then after they couldn't fight a fire that was not started by the enemy, or no, come here, go and find rebels in DRC. They don't even have, those things, those fighter jets. Don't have helicopters. I was told there were helicopters which were sent to DRC. I think they were stuck there because they are not serviced. So you are fighting rebels who don't have the airspace, who can't fight from the air. You've got that capacity, you don't use it because you have undermined that capacity. So deploying in Africa must be natural. We need to look after each other. We need to support one another. But it must not be at the risk of our own people. Here in South Africa, we've got a task force. In the police, it's called Special Task Force. In the army, it's called Task Force. Highly trained, highly capacitated. Those are the people you send to DRC to go and fight rebels. But are they rebels there, or there is just some tribalistic battle that is taking place there and someone doesn't want us to know about it and then they say they are rebels, where people are told on their own original land, no, you must go to Rwanda. No, you don't speak the same language with us. Therefore, because you speak that Rwandan language, you must go back there. This is not your country. And then you fight people there. Why? Because there are mineral resources there. You don't want them to benefit from those mineral resources on the basis of language, on the basis of the fence. So we will not support that DRC wants to, sponsor a certain sanctions against Rwanda. We think that the two countries can still find an amicable solution to whatever animosities that exist in between them. The African solution can be found. People should just drop their egos and engage with each other. And SADC and the African Union must decisively intervene in DRC and in Sudan. Because what is happening in Sudan is unacceptable. People have been killed there for so many years. We're not saying anything about it. We're not saying anything about it. So where is the African Union to stop that nonsense which is happening in Sudan? I think we promise 4 million jobs, and then we break them down. So we don't write them as 4 million jobs. So we say in this industry we're going to create so many jobs. In this industry we're going to create so many. This is how we're going to create them. Then combined, you realize we can create 4 million jobs in 5 years. In the securities alone, if we insource securities, we can create 170,000 plus jobs in South Africa. Why do you need a middleman to pay this guy of the security? This is the guy we know. We don't know the middleman. This is the guy we interact with every day. We can see what he's going through, but we can't make any means to intervene in his life. We need to hire these securities directly as government. If needs be, we can even establish a government security company and then pay them. When we insourced them in Joburg, they were paid 3,500 per security, and government was charged 15,000 per security. Those of you who come from rural areas will know that when our grandfathers and fathers retired from work in Joburg and came back home, they came empty-handed. Why? They were security guards for 30 years at the gate of the municipality. 30 years. Every 3 years, a company changes hands from this company to this company. This company, he has never been under one company. He's got no pension. He's got no leave days. He's got no benefits. He's got no job security. The day he does what Naledi Chirwa did, he comes back the following day, someone is on that position. And you can't tell them anything. The guy, you were not here. No, but I went to hospital, I was sick. Wait. No, my child, wait. They've got nothing. They can't say anything. They have to report 24/7. That's why they work at night. During the day, they try to meet their family obligations. When they come back to work, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, already the security guard is sleeping. There are no leave days. They can't rest. So we can create a lot of jobs in those sectors. Graduate grants. There are not so many graduates, by the way. There are very few. How many? Less than 7% of the population. And in that less than 7% of the population, I think we constitute less than 7% as Africans. 7% graduates of the country. No, 7% of the population graduates with degrees. Of that 7%, 7% are Africans. And majority of those people, by the way, they are employed. So there are very few. No, you can't do that. You can't say create doubt, because what I'm saying, as a scholar, you can go and find it. It's an readily available information that majority of our graduates are working. I can't even account for no less than 85% of the graduates who are working. So graduation and work is there. It's very few, and those who are not working, because 7% is us, and the majority of them are white graduates. If they don't work, they've got some form of income. So you can ask a question. Someone was telling me about PhD there. You can actually write a thesis on how many graduates receive 350 from government. Because that 350 from government says you must not have any form of income. There's no white person like that. There's no white person without any form of income. So in that 7% of unemployed people who must now be given a stipend, whites are already out. We're left with this 7% of Africans. That 7%, 85% to 90% of it is at work. And it's not just a graduate stipend. You have to demonstrate that you have been seeking job. You have been going to interviews, you have been putting this, because the EFF government is going to create a database of graduates. You can't say to me, we can't find chefs. What do you mean? Where are you looking for them? Here's a database of this government. That Department of Tulas English of Employment is supposed to have a graduate list, not even from you. Every university holds graduate ceremony. The list is there. Bring the list, upload it there. Qualification, all of that. People must go there to look for whatever they are looking for. The same, we are going to create another database of rapists. Everyone who's convicted of rape must be in the public database. And that information must be accessible because those are murderers. So all of us seated here, when someone says, I'm Julius Malema, you don't even make noise. You just punch his name on Google. Right? And then it comes rapist. Done.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
these people go and rape our people, go to prison, come back, relocate to Northern Cape, to Eastern Cape. No one knows that person. They employ that person to be a teacher of a primary school and look after a girl child. You entrust a girl child with a rapist because information is not accessible. Why is this government that says it's fighting GBV, is fighting rape, is fighting murder? Those convicted of murder and rape and dangerous crimes should be known to society. Because we need to know who's who. So, WITS University, SRC, we are happy with the support, and we want you to stay true to what you promise the students. There's a big problem here at WITS of accommodation, which the SRC is seized with that matter and leading from the front. I remember they even came to us and said, we must give them money to go and pay some of this accommodation for the students. And we're looking at each other with them, we're saying, like, what are we going to do now? Because we're not Patrice Motsepe. But once free education is given, a lot of problems will be resolved. I've got a problem, Prof, with NSFAS. Big problem with NSFAS. Now, I'm a member of parliament, a businessman in his own right. I've got a child. Next year is coming to university at WITS, right? I'm going to pay the university for his fees. All the students that EFF take to school pay university directly the fees. We all pay university directly. Here is a poor child who said government is going to pay for me. Why is government not paying the university directly like a private parents who pay the university directly? Why NSFAS, if it has got some unique role to play, why are the private parents who are paying not being told to pay to NSFAS? NSFAS will pay for them. Government pays to NSFAS. NSFAS pays to university. Why? We don't need NSFAS. We must cancel NSFAS and pay WITS directly. We've got 20 children who are paid for by government. There are 20. Each one of them, we must pay 100 rand for them. It's 2,000 rand. We paid directly to WITS. Without this corrupt middleman who finances the Communist Party programs, because he works with Blade, they fire the corrupt one, they bring the same person through a back door in a different name. But when you look at the activity, it's the same. So we don't need NSFAS. Institutions of higher learning, they are a state department. So when a budget of Department of Health is passed, they don't pay some health agency to pay Department of Health. From finance, it goes straight to the Department of Health. From finance, it must go straight to the Department of WITS. That's a government department. And you can't tell me that all of these universities are inherently corrupt. These guys are presiding over huge amounts of money in reserves. Huge. Especially the former white institutions. So why would they not handle that annual fee you are paying them? So let's give the money directly to the students, to the universities, and the universities must be the one that pay you. You're their student. They must be able to say, no, there is this allowance for this, for that, which is due to you. They pay you. You know who you are dealing with. Student affairs, you know this guy. Not a call-free hotline. Is your problem accommodation? Press 1. Is your problem? No. We need a human interface with that. Fiscal currency, we'll have a discussion about that one day. observing the world as it evolves, including the de-dollarization of the world and the digital currency. But the fiscal policy of the EFF is very simple. We want a reserve bank that will be biased towards industrialization, not financialization. Because the Reserve Bank as is now is more leaning into financial institutions and does everything in its power to protect the interest of finance. The banks in South Africa are declaring huge amounts of profits per annum. They give you a bond at 5% interest rate and don't do anything after that. They just sit back. The Reserve Bank does job for them. Increase the repo rate. Increase the repo rate. Now it's sitting at 8.5. You bought at 5%. You pay more and the banks make more without doing nothing. They don't have to go produce anything or as long as you took their loan, the governor will do the job for them. So we have no problem with that. But we want the Reserve Bank to borrow at an affordable rate so that we are not overcharged by the banks. And any program that comes as a result of industrialization by financial institutions that says, well, we're looking for this kind of money because the agenda is to finance this industrialization thing, it must be easy for that to be financed through the support of the Reserve Bank. The same thing now, when they say change to geysers, solar, any application now that is made of installing solar and moving from ESCOM to solar, the banks want that kind of transaction. They are supporting that we must shift to solar. The banks, with ease, they finance it. Why is the Reserve Bank not saying to them, where is your transformative agenda as a bank? Where is your policy on financing industrialization so that we revive the manufacturing industry of this country? Because only manufacturing will grow the economy. And when the economy grows, jobs are created. No Zimbabwean takes a job from you. The economy is stuck. And the economy can't produce jobs when it's stuck. What does it mean? Tomorrow, I can get Gayton Mackenzie, we take the bus and take all these Zimbabweans and Lesotho and Nigerians away. Take them home. There will still not be jobs because the economy is stuck. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. I think this is an excellent note on which to draw the curtain on this session. And I believe it has been an engaging day for those who were here earlier on to listen to the representative of DA, and just now a 2.5 hour marathon with the president of the EFF. The dialogue will continue next Thursday, as indicated by the head of school. We will be having other political parties. And without doubt, President, there will be some responses to the various points which you have covered here. And there's an open space for conversation.
We are in a boxing match.
Absolutely.
So when they box back, you can't. As long as there's nothing personal, as long as you don't lie about other people, let's keep the ball rolling.
Absolutely.
And we really appreciate this platform
we
where we can engage, honestly and openly without any hesitation. I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome, President. And ladies and gentlemen, the President of the EFF.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you, Prof.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. That guy must come and
Thank you, CIC.
message is simple. We're calling on all young.
Said the EFF would not reach this milestone.